My name is Alec McMurren. I live in Petersburg, Alaska. Small community there in southeast Alaska of 3,000 people. Here's the newspaper. You can see it's enormous. And
Is it a weekly paper?
this is a week, absolutely.
Okay.
We got enough.
I grew up in a town of about 1,500 people, so.
It only takes a week to fill this absolutely full of stuff in Petersburg. Don't think there's nothing happening in Petersburg. For instance, might as well start off by telling you that, just to show that I'm not taking a lie, here is the Valentine's Day celebration at Long-Term Care, wherein my wife Nicole and I were asked to come down and play love songs, which we did, and everybody fell in love. And so it was a perfect Valentine's Day down there at Long-Term Care. This is kind of funny. This reminds me, there was actually a gentleman that used to, I think it was Saturday morning, every Saturday morning, he'd go on the radio and he would read the paper cover to cover and comment, he was real intelligent, articulate, maybe, and and then here's a great picture of my wife and I, Nicole, performing right during that same week, you understand. And that was a benefit for kids to travel throughout southeast Alaska to attend kind of an extended art program. During that same week in Petersburg, we had a celebration to honor Elizabeth Peratrovich. Maybe you've heard about the coin that came out. Anyway, she was an advocate for native rights and articulate and famous for having a good sense of humor and being able to present herself well in unpopular situations, or her cause was not really popular back in those days. So here we had a celebration in Petersburg, and dancers came over and the singers came over from Wrangell. They came all the way over for Wrangell for the day. They spent the day coming over on the breakaway.
Wow.
And they invaded the A&B hall, and it was great. And we had a little band that we put together to play there. We performed a song of one voice that Nicole determined was to be appropriate, and the message is we are all one voice. And in the parade and in the celebration there at Petersburg, we kind of furthered that a little bit. So there I was in Petersburg, Alaska, about 1982. I think I moved into Petersburg, Alaska, and came up to visit a friend of mine, and went into crewed on many boats, about 19, all on the Gulf and inside seined and long-lined, and fished for shrimp for Andy Grenier. And then about 1988, Andy decided he would sell out. And he had a 61-foot boat, a Bernice wood boat, old wood boat. And it was just about the right size and just about the right shape and just about the right style for what I was into. So I went ahead and I bought, and it was absolutely the right price for the right person. Just Andy's words exactly. Oh, for the right person, it would be the right price, you know. And the right price for an old kind of half-rotten wooden slab, but it worked really well for the shrimp. So I beam trawled in a pretty primitive way for a while, but then as time went on, modernized, developed, and as technology became more available and it was even filtered down to the shrimp fishery, it was interesting to grow in that respect. And then, so I bought that boat, and then I went ahead and I went to Canada and I got a different boat and tried to sort of expand the grounds and expand the opportunity for making longer trips. It didn't really work out very well. So at that point in time, then I decided to go ahead and go back to mechanic. And so I ended up being the refrigeration mechanic there at Alaska Marine Lines for about 50 years. And I always felt like I was a little bit connected because basically what Alaska Marine Line does there in Petersburg is ships out containers of frozen fish. So, and I really, you know, a lot of the experience that I had in trying to market shrimp and harvesting shrimp, and quality is real important in the seafood industry. And I learned that in the shrimp fishery. And always held that in mind when I was trying to take care of that refrigerated product down there at AML. And there were a variety of circumstances where a person could choose, you know, between the high road and the not so high road when it comes to keeping product cold. And there's nothing worse in the world for somebody to get a mouthful of rotten fish. And so I always felt like it was important to advocate for that and to advocate for excellence in that in the care and the shipping of the products. Well, one thing leads to another, and I had enough time to go back into guitar playing a little bit. And so, I like folk music, and there weren't too many people that were writing folk music about fishing. I think it qualifies as folk music. I think folk music is writing music about what people are doing in their lives. So I saw an opportunity, and a friend of mine, Dennis Spurl, recommended that I come on down to Fisher Poets and see if they would buy what I was selling down here. And so that was maybe 6 or 7 years ago when I came down, and it worked out pretty good, and it increased my interest, and so I continue to come down to Fisher Poets and enjoy it immensely. It's a great opportunity, a great performance opportunity, and just the spirit of the thing has just the right blend of I don't know, polish and grit, you might say. You know, people are quite inspired, creative, and articulate in many ways, and this is really a really enjoyable place to be. Personally, I like to practice. I like to play guitar, and I've always thought that there was a performance aspect, and that was always a part of music. I played the clarinet when I was like 5 years old in elementary school, and I was 7 years old in elementary school. And there was, when I think back of it, there was always a lesson, and then there was always a performance opportunity, you know. And even now in our school, you know, there's an elementary band, there's a middle school band, and there's a high school band. Each at their own level, they come together, and the director, Matt Linhart, who is just a wonderful director there, and he puts on a performance. So it just gets to be part of the culture. And I like that a lot. This is a great performance opportunity. And the Fisher Poets being the way, well, with the many venues, and I think it's 120 people that presenters here at the Fisher Poet. And so it's a big circus of people moving around and venue to venue, and the public seems to be really engaged and enjoy it. So it seems like it's a real worthwhile thing. And so here's the thing about the engaging the public. And maybe the part that resonates with me is that there's a certain energy exchange between the performer and the audience. And I'm kind of intrigued, for one thing, because I think music is very nourishing, it's medicinal, it's enjoyable for me, the performer, and always for me, for the listener too. And so I'm just transported by music. It just affects me in a big way. It's an intense thing. And and it's kind of a challenge, and the art and the science of it and the discipline to be able to perform at a level that's accessible to an audience so that they can be transported, enjoy the performance, and have that artful moment of being like alone in the world with themselves in an enjoyable way. Especially important for like people at long-term care. I like to go up and play for those folks, like I mentioned, and sometimes people need it to be brought to them because they're not really ready to get up and go see it. So I think that's a valuable contribution that I try to make. So yeah, there's just that interest in writing the folk music and the performance aspect of it, which is, of course, also exercise in many respects with, you know, good way to keep young. I think Segovia performed into his 90s. So I think there's an aspect of research, development, and education, and trying to achieve or striving for excellence at whatever level, and trying to improve, and keeping many things in mind in order to produce a performance that is accessible and therefore a valuable human experience. If you think having a good time and feeling good and enjoying your sensory nerves being jingled in a good way, a valuable experience, you know, that's, so anyway, that's kind of what I do. Yeah, there's so much authenticity. It's absolutely inspiring and comforting. Well, how do you do that? How do you what is the recipe for that actually puts people in a situation where they're comfortable exposing themselves like this?
Yeah.
And also being creative at the same time, being authentic, being inspired, making art for the moment, and being curative, like you say. It's medicine for people, for sure. Yeah, there's been some profound experiences, both listening to and presented through the poetry, prose poetry, song, and poetry. It's certainly based on experience, and there's the potential to be moved. I remember being in tears, and of all places at the Voodoo Room, which is a little bit of a laughable place, but
I love the Voodoo.
yeah. So
Audience.
it can be intimate,
You know, very
absolutely.
intimate,
Yeah. There's that, certainly. There again, you know, that's the question of what is the. It's a little bit of a different blend. The authenticity, the intimacy, the performance, the therapy aspect of it, and the sharing of that, and I think, you know, and everybody takes away. Everybody's different, you know. People are take away different stuff for it, and people, and the performers are vastly different too. I mean, you know, everybody kind of contributes who they are and what they do, and with that theme of a relationship to the fishing industry, it's really quite successful in a little bit of a window into some authentic experience and some real creativity and some therapy, like you say. You know. Well, you really touched on the poem that I heard last night, which was a relationship to exactly what you're talking about. The woman was talking about, you know, her uncle lost a finger, her uncle lost a thumb, her uncle, you know, there's any time that you're involved in any kind of thing that involves extreme physical activity or attention, or where you're deprived of sleep a little bit, and when you have to really become involved in stuff, and then there's always these choices of how close to the line do you take, when do you lose attention, where do you put your focus, and there's an opportunity for physical watch out, don't get hurt. That's you know, safety last. Watch out, don't get hurt. And
it always is there.
There's risk for sure.
Yeah.
And there's other risky things to do in the world, that's for sure. But there is and it's fun to hear it integrated in that form and connected. So but there's the two aspects that we're kind of talking about here, and that is the performance for the public and the performance for each other. And there's kind of you know, there's I think maybe that is how you start to make this concoction. because everybody's kind of got it in the back of their mind, you know, that there's the other Fisher poets are here, and you know, and your performance is looked at in a couple of different ways. It's maybe it's an opportunity for some critique, and in a way that'll help you grow, and in a way that also, you know, resonates with other Fisher poets, which absolutely, and then at the same time, like you say, there's an opportunity. Then there's the general public, which is peeking in, or wanting a view, or wanting to participate vicariously, or for some reason just be entertained by somebody that has some not so polished but an authentic performance to give, and that's part of the energy, part of the exchange. Well, tonight I'm at the Columbian Theater, which is a pretty good sized venue. It's a theater, and it's got a stage, and I think I performed there last year, and I very much enjoyed it. The sound is really good, which is a big help, and if you can hear yourself, and they actually make you sound better than you were. I thought last year I never heard myself sound so good before, so I really appreciated the sound folks. And then I'm going to MC at the Voodoo Room. At the Voodoo Room. On Saturday. So, and also be at the Astoria Brewing Company then also that night. So 2 performances Saturday night. Yeah, that sounds good. You be the good interviewer, and I'll try to be the good interviewee.